Welcome to Comics Bazaar. This episode features X-Men number 6, cover dated March 1992, and this comic cost $1.25. Now the cover features Sabretooth standing over the defeated Wolverine and also Psylocke. So the cover artist is, as ever on this series, Jim Lee, but instead of being inked by Scott Williams, he's inked here by Art Thibert, who also happens to be the inker of the interior of the comic. Indeed, it's more than inker that he is. As you'll see in the credits there, Jim Lee is credited for plot and art, and Art Thibert is credited as finisher. Now what that means is that Jim Lee's pencils would be looser than usual, which requires the inker then to render greater detail to the finished art, filling in on backgrounds sometimes, and details of costumes and shading and so on and so forth. So obviously then Lee was in a bit of a rush, and we'll see that subsequently in the comic in terms of the dearth of backgrounds, and indeed many pages where there is in fact no backgrounds at all. So something else to note is that there's a new scripter, Scott Lobdell. Scott Lobdell was a stand-up comedian who got some work with Marvel Comics in the early 90s. And the legend is that Bob Harris, after John Byrne's quitting the comic and Uncanny X-Men, in terms of after quitting scripting those books, called up Lobdell, and Lobdell agreed to script the dialogue and exposition for this particular issue, X-Men number 6, in 48 hours. So that's the legend anyway. But what's notable is that post-Claremont, post-John Byrne, the voices have changed for the characters. They don't exactly speak in the way that readers had been used to for the 16 years of Claremont's run on the comic. So what's happening here is the story picks up. The X-Men are in Berlin. They're there to rescue Wolverine, who was captured at the end of X-Men number 4 by Omega Red and a team of ninja assassins, the Hand, who feature here in red on this particular opening page. Now in this particular building, the X-Men are met, turning the corner there, by Omega Red, who punches out Beast. They fight. Omega Red has this particular power that makes people sick, and that reduces their ability to fight him. There's Matsuo Tsurayaba, who's ultimately controlling Omega Red and the Hand Assassins, and he's there delighted with the outcome of Omega finishing off the X-Men Blue team. Then the scene switches to Maverick, this new character who was introduced in the previous issue. And Wolverine was unconscious and or dead at the end of the previous issue. Maverick injects him with some neuroepinephrine, in other words, adrenaline, in order to wake him up and get him going. Wolverine's heart starts beating again, and he flashes back to an adventure from the 60s when he was part of a special ops team with Victor Creed, who later would be Sabretooth, and Maverick. And they're trying to rescue this doctor from the building, and here arrives, who's it going to be except Omega Red, the original incarnation of Omega Red. And they manage to jump out the window, escape from the building, but the female doctor is dead, and so they've lost that particular mission. Now the scene switches to an interlude in a way, someplace somewhere else, and it's in fact Mojo World. And this particular character, Mojo, is the CEO, so to speak, of TV network on Mojo World, where the dominant species are all like Mojo. They're invertebrates, they're spineless, and basically they spend all their time being entertained by watching TV. And one of the stars of Mojo World TV was this guy here, Longshot. But Longshot escaped to Earth, joined the X-Men, and has been missing from the storylines for a while. But he's returned, and he looked to get in contact with Dazzler here, Alison Blair, and Lila Cheney, who's a teleporter. Okay, so there's a bit of a fight happens here, and at the end of the fight, Longshot, one of his powers is luck. He has a power for like unbelievable luck and fortune. So he looks out here at the end and escapes with Lila Cheney and Dazzler. And what happens is there was in previous storylines, Longshot and Dazzler had something of a romantic relationship, so that seems to be rekindled here. Okay, so back to Berlin, back to the other half of the X-Men Blue team, Gambit, Rogue, and Psylocke, who are battling the Hand Ninjas. Then arrives the Fenris twins, Andreas and Andrea Strucker, and they blow away the X-Men there. But the battle continues, and what happens is that this chap, Matsuo Tsurayaba, had a hand in the transformation of Psylocke, Betsy Braddock, from an English woman into an Asian-bodied ninja assassin who was originally intended to be an agent of the Hand, but who turned, and now Matsuo Tsurayaba turns her again on account of a previously implanted post-hypnotic suggestion. Okay, so those issues of Uncanny X-Men where Betsy was transformed into this new incarnation, I'm going to explore those issues in videos in the future, so do stay tuned to the channel for that. Okay, so continuing with the story, Wolverine wakes up on account of the adrenaline, and he's confused, of course, and we get further flashbacks to his time working with Creed and Maverick, and Creed falling out with Wolverine, and Logan walking out from the team. Logan walked out without so much as a glance over his shoulder. Okay. And here we have Logan, who doesn't remember Maverick 100%. And so Maverick is telling him not the whole truth about their previous relationship, and simply asserting that he's a representative of the German government at this particular moment. So Maverick then punches out Wolverine, and what happens is the scene switches to the arrival of who else but Victor Creed, Sabretooth, with his assistant girlfriend Birdie. Okay, and he's being tasked by Tsurayaba and Fenris to recapture Wolverine. And actually, as I was saying earlier, Lee isn't taking the same amount of time over the artwork as he did in certainly the first 3 issues of this particular volume of X-Men. But this is a difficult drawing to pull off here. 3-point perspective, and it's perfectly done. So even though he's flying through this issue and leaving the heavy lifting to Art Thibert in terms of the rendering, this is a very nicely done panel. It takes skill to produce something like that. So Creed goes after Wolverine and ultimately locates him with Maverick in the sewage tunnels under the building that everybody's in. And naturally enough, they fight but as the exposition says, the outcome is never really in question. Creed, Sabretooth beats both Wolverine and Maverick, apparently. So Surayaba and Fenris toast their success there with some very interesting purple looking champagne. And Surayaba gives Omega Red the order to kill as many of the captured X-Men as he wishes. And of course, it's to be continued in the next issue, X-Men number 7. So if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, in order to stay abreast of fresh videos coming up. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video.